Hey everybody, hanging out over on twitch.tv/Lawler like we do every day but Tuesday and Sunday. And we've got a lot of things to discuss, primarily in regards to Unreal Engine 5. Obviously, everybody in the Rocket League community is like crossing their fingers of hopes that when Rocket League does eventually port over to Unreal Engine 5, it makes a lot of changes. And not too many people actually know what that means. People aren't really aware of why Unreal Engine 5 is something that a lot of us are really excited about. And luckily, Unreal Engine 5 has officially released to the public. People can go and try to make projects in Unreal Engine 5. They can port over things from Unreal Engine 4. But the difficulty with Rocket League is made on Unreal Engine 3. And that complication means that they basically have to rebuild the game from scratch. But a lot of people don't know why they would actually do that. People don't really know why the importance of Unreal Engine 5 is even there. And we've talked in the past primarily with Lethamir, who makes a lot of maps, but we've had a lot of discussions in regards to what it is, but now I can actually provide you real examples. A YouTube channel by the name of Unreal Sensei has put out a video that is about 10 minutes long talking about the impact and the benefits, 5 in particular, that are really important to going to Unreal Engine 5. So we're going to watch that together. I've not seen it. I'm excited to kind of see how big of a deal it is, because I know very basics about like the actual engine that Rocket League is built on, but I haven't seen the specifics as to like why it is. I just know a couple things are going to happen. One, it's going to make the game like take way less processing. Like it's going to become so much more efficient that computers of all types are going to really see the benefits. There's a lot of things that are going to just help with the efficiency of how the game is played and the implementation of new features, but it's always good to have like physical examples of that. So let's jump into the video and kind of break this down. I'm gonna leave captions on as well, just in case people have bad ears or whatever. You should easily be able to hear this. So this is the beginning of the video. The video itself will be linked in the description down below, but it's called 5 Reasons Unreal Engine 5 is a Big Deal. So let's take a listen.
Unreal Engine 5 was just released this morning, and it is a game changer. The computer graphic industry will never be the same.
Some pretty bold
Everyone
claims.
from game developers to movie makers are excited to start using Unreal Engine 5. But you're probably wondering why Unreal Engine 5 is such a big deal. Well, in this video, I'm going to go over 5 reasons why Unreal Engine 5 is a game changer. Number 1 is Unreal's brand new lighting system called Lumen. Since the start of computer graphics, developers have been trying to simulate global illumination. Essentially, global illumination is bounce lighting, which is the extra light that is created from light rays bouncing off.
So he's using a little slider here that is changing the positioning of the sun. So like he dragged it this way so the sun goes this way, and all this automatically gets like detailed and shaded correctly with, you know, what he's talking about, the light rays and all that kind of stuff.
Different surfaces. For example, if we have a room with just one light source, which is the window, it doesn't make sense for the room to be pitch black. Instead, light rays from the window will bounce off of the floors and walls to illuminate the entire room indirectly. Movies have been able to use bounce lighting for a while now through the process called path tracing, but it can take a very long time for just a single frame to render. Sometimes these renders can even last for hours. Obviously, this makes it hard to use for video games that require 30 to 120 frames rendered every second.
Most Rocket League players will not play the game unless it's 250 minimum. So, yeah, a little bit difficult.
To get around this in the past, game developers have faked global illumination through a process called light baking. Essentially, all the path tracing was rendered before the game is played. This render is then stored in a texture called a light map, which is then overlaid on top of the world to make it look like light is bouncing around in real time.
I'm learning, Chad. I'm learning.
It's just a pre-rendered texture. But now the problem is that global illumination is not real time. So as soon as I make a change, our light map is no longer in sync. So we have
The chair shadow doesn't follow, is basically what he's saying.
to rebake the entire environment all over again, which is time consuming. This is why Lumen is such a big deal, since it's true real-time global illumination. So right here we have the same scene, but Lumen is turned on, so there is no baked lighting. And notice how as soon as I start to move this chair around, the light updates in real time.
That's actually
you
insane.
Can even play with how much light is coming through.
It's like I talked about efficiency and the ability for them to, like, if you go into a map in Rocket League, they actually use things like this, the pre-baked images like he's talking about, to fake 3D effects based upon like what you see. Like if you've ever seen those like what is it? Like escape rooms where they have like based upon the way you look at like dangling things, it actually shows an image. They kind of do that based upon like depth perception in order to trick your mind into thinking it's like a 3D object, but in reality it's just different colored panels to give you that visualization. In this is like, that's actually insane. It's actually insane how that works.
Window dynamically. So let's add in a cube and we can scale this up.
And like to just do this on the fly.
Off all the light in the room. And then notice how as soon as I move this, we start to seep in more and more light. And this room is entirely dynamically changing its visibility because of all of that bounce lighting.
That's insane.
Which was near impossible in Unreal Engine 4. The city sample shows off Lumen pretty well. I can rotate my sun.
The thought of how big this landscape is just makes me think, dang, I need a 3080 because my computer is going to explode.
And watch all those buildings illuminate each other through their bounce lighting. Even windows on buildings now give off light. For example, if I grab this car and move it from the window, it starts to cast soft shadows onto the concrete. Reason 2 is Nanite.
What? Like, you think about how this works in Rocket League, and to an extent, you're just like, okay, no big deal. But for anybody who has like gone out of the map to try to look for like Easter eggs or something like that in the game, thinking about like what they can do just for simplicity purposes, and the fact that this is all like dynamic, it just happens. It's not something that they have to physically do. It is just a setting that they go, yeah, okay, make it happen. It makes me want to think about like how much faster they would be able to pump out certain things when it comes to like visualization of maps and how pretty they can make landscapes look, and like it's so crazy. Also, everybody who wants underglow on cars, just get rid of it. Get rid of that mentality. Underglow is not a thing that's going to happen. It is a thing that is distracting when you play the game, and it would not be good. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Just get rid of it. Get rid of that mentality. Underglow will not be a thing. And if it is, it's going to be a setting that I turn off immediately, just like Bloom and everything else. It's not good for you. It's distracting. It's like having a topper in your car, which I do. So,
and move it from the
I'm sorry,
window,
it's just not going to happen. But like the fact that this is a real-time shadow, because remember what he said in that original setting. This used to be a pre-rendered thing, so there would be no shadow, but he can just move the car over there and it automatically projects in real time.
Shadows onto the concrete.
That's nuts.
Reason 2 is Nanite. Every object you see in CGI, whether that be in video games or movies,
this is the polygons, yeah,
of tiny flat planes of geometry called polygons. And generally, the more polygons you have in a world, the longer it takes for a computer to render, which can slow down video games. This is why games use a system called level of detail, or LOD for short. Basically, the further away an object,
your render distance. If you're playing a battle royale that has a lot of buildings and foliage that's super far in the distance, you make sure that your render distance is lower, so it's only rendering and populating that information the closer you go. This I don't feel is as big of a deal for Rocket League, but I'm curious on how this will translate to what the difference is with Nanite when it comes to like the objects that they place in game.
From the camera, the less polygons it will use to render that object. This makes games run faster since there's less polygons that have to be rendered, but it's a
So you're seeing the difference line here, right? It's simplifying like how many lines there are. So like this has like a 3D object and like can do better shadowing on the side of the back of the chair. Now that's gone. So it's simplifying like how many lines or polygons in this case actually apply to the object.
A time-consuming process to create all the LODs. Nanite changes this. At a simple level, Nanite allows for dynamic level of detail. This means you can have an object with millions of polygons without any LODs, because those polygons dynamically deform, lowering the total amount of polys on the object. This allows for high poly assets made for movies to be used in video games now. I think it's best to show an example of why this is a big deal. So right in front of you is a donut I made in Unreal Engine, and this donut is made up of about 30,000 different polygons.
Holy.
Here is that same exact donut, but copied and pasted over 100,000 times. And what is insane is that we're not faking any of these donuts. With
these aren't like still. So what's crazy is normally when you see something like this, because that's so many polygons, the amount of like rendering that's going on is you are seeing it chug. Like it is so demanding. So what they do is they just take that still image and it has to be pre-rendered, and it is just a thing that exists. You can't manipulate it. It's just a hard object. That's all it is, nothing else. But from what he's saying is all of these are individual objects that you can manipulate in real time whenever you want. Which the thought of how
All these donuts are individual objects that we can move around.
No
rotate, and
way.
scale. Maybe one donut is bigger than all the others. A more practical example is the city sample,
What?
which is made up entirely of nanite objects. We can see how nanite works by coming up to lit, down to nanite visualization, and triangles.
Oh god.
So every color you see is an individual polygon. And we can see more polygons pop in the closer we get to one of the buildings or to any of those objects. For example, this water tower, if I go away, we can see that the water tower loses polys, but when I come up close, it gains more and more polys.
This is actually insane.
Number 3 is the Megascans asset library.
I
What is
actually
the
know
point
about
of
this
great
one.
features like Nanite and Lumen?
For people like Lethmir, this is insane. Obviously, he's gonna have to relearn how to do some of the stuff, but this like I know what Megascans are. They basically have like a preconceived library of assets that they can use. Like the first time I learned about Unreal Engine 5 was that like desert thing that they're doing, and they've gone through like their team for Unreal Engine has gone through the world like in real life and taken photos and pictures of different assets, and they have predefined like a library of things that are free that you can just drag and drop and make your own.
If we
He's
don't
gonna
have
explain
any
it better than I can.
objects to populate our world with. This is where Megascans can help us. Megascans is a library of over 16,000
Okay, I didn't think it was that
ready to
many,
be
but that's a
used
lot.
automatically in Unreal Engine 5. These assets
To provide example, Lethmir in his prop hunt video had to go out and physically buy assets that he had to import into Unreal Engine 3 to then make as a thing. And they're saying that they have over 16,000 just built in.
include 3D objects, plants, material surfaces, modular objects.
Yeah, McSaucin gives a good example. Like, if everybody has these tools, the only difference is experience. The amount of people that have the ability to make these things, and if they simplify that even more with a creative mode, that is just a limitation of your own creativity, which is why I think we're all so excited.
And recently they even added customizable trees. And all these objects are photorealistic because they're scanned from real life. The team at Megascans
Yeah, I've seen this video where they show this.
From Japan to Iceland, scanning and capturing different objects and surfaces. Using a program called Reality Capture, these scans are then converted into 3D objects
So cool.
and imported
It's
into
so cool.
Unreal. They have been used in movies and TV shows like The Lion King and Mandalorian. What's amazing is that all these assets are free and built into Unreal Engine 5 by default. To get Megascans, all you have to do is click on the add button right here and select Quixel Bridge. Now we get access to those 16,000 assets. So for example, what if we want a rock from the desert? Well, I'm going to select 3D assets to filter for objects and type in desert and then rock. So we see all the different assets that we can choose from. Let's say, for example, maybe I want this asset right here. All you have to do is drag it into your world, wait for it to download, and now we have that object
I wonder how long that takes.
ready to move around and place in our world. They even give us a lot of customizable features, such as changing the color of the rock, or we can even make the rock a lot shinier. So let's get a better angle so the sun is hitting it
My eyes.
right here by adjusting its max roughness. So maybe this rock is really wet, so it's really shiny. In fact, this environment I created is
That's
almost
so
made up
insane.
entirely of Megascan assets. From the houses to the foliage, all the way to the cliffs at the very far back, they are all from the library. Also, the desert from the Valley of the Ancients demo is entirely made up
This
of
is actually
Megascan
insane.
assets. You can pretty much click anywhere on the screen, and odds are you have selected a real-life object that was scanned from the deserts of Utah. Reason number 4 is MetaHumans. Humans are one of the hardest assets to create
Yo, egg people finally going to become humans. We now have humans in the crowd instead of egg people. We finally get lore. Probably not going to happen, but
for games and movies.
I don't think this one.
Especially if
I
you're
don't think
trying
this
to
one
create
really applies to
realistic
Rocket League.
humans.
But if you guys
It
have
is-
ever seen a crowd in Rocket League, they're literally a flat object that bounces up and down. Like, is there any up close? They're literally just like flat objects that bounce up and down. Like, there's no Like the objects that they use. Yeah, here's a good example. Like that's all it is. That is our crowd. Like it may not seem like a big deal, but that kind of stuff just it helps with the atmosphere. It makes it feel more alive per se. And if they continue to implement some of the cool things like VR tickets and stuff like that, like 3D assets and stuff, and the fact that it won't be too much more demanding, because that's the one thing that they're going to have to determine is by doing this is how much more intensive is it going to be on the computer. But
It's one of the most expensive parts of any production. This is why MetaHumans is amazing. It allows us to quickly create realistic humans in minutes, and the application runs
looks like
on
he
your
had to throw
computer
up.
browser.
Now he's grumpy.
So you don't need
Now
to
he's
download
happy.
Unreal Engine to use it. It also comes with a bunch of different preset humans. This is one of the preset humans. You can see that we have just a bunch of options at the left right here. We could go in and sculpt, maybe give him a bigger nose, and also raise the cheekbones. And then we could go into the head, give him different hair, and maybe even add in a mustache. And of course, change the proportions. Maybe make him
looks like he's from
bit
Seattle.
Skinnier. Of course, we could continue using MetaHuman Creator, but what if we want to bring the human in?
If anybody who watches my videos is from Seattle, not a shot at you by any means. I just feel like this guy could be a barista, and he's very particular about his coffee. Nothing wrong with that. Just
into UE5.
I think I've met this guy before.
It's as easy as opening up Bridge and going into the MetaHumans tab, and under My MetaHumans, you see all the humans you have created. All you have to do is simply download that character.
A guy only drinks IPAs.
Once you do have it imported, you just have to find where he is under MetaHuman and simply drag it out. It is that easy now to create
that is
a realistic
actually
human
kind of
for
insane.
games and animation. But we're not just limited to a static human. We can animate pretty much everything about this MetaHuman, including his face. So for example, what if you want to move his mouth down? Just grab it like that, move it. You can also move his eyes, so you can see him looking in game. And keep in mind, all of these are animatable, so you could create an entire animation. We can even change his
I don't know how
pose.
this necessarily applies to Rocket
arms,
League, but that is...
And maybe try to animate him waving, if you are good with animation. The Matrix Unreal Engine 5 demo is a great example.
I heard a lot of cool things about this.
Humans. All the humans, from the player character to the pedestrians walking the street, are metahumans. Even Keanu Reeves is a customized metahuman. Instead of using the MetaHuman application, artists scan Keanu Reeves' face and then use the MetaHuman technology for the materials,
that's
rigging,
so insane.
and animation.
I don't think this really applies to Rocket League for what we know it as, but that's still insane.
So if you are a technical artist, you can still make use of MetaHuman in a more traditional pipeline. You're not just limited to what is possible in the MetaHuman editor. Number 5 is surprisingly Unreal Engine 4. You probably noticed
I talked about this at the beginning.
Right now is not Unreal Engine 5. This is a demo of Unreal Engine 4 that was released in 2012, which is a decade ago. The reason why I'm showing this is to demonstrate that UE4 projects can easily be converted into UE5 projects.
When I dropped out of college.
Now, this is the same demo, but running on Unreal Engine 5, making use of all the new features, such as Lumen and Nanite. So it looks a lot better than...
You can just see like the reflection and stuff. You're talking when he's talking about nanites, not only is the objects cleaner, but also the lighting and stuff that they're doing. Like it just looks... And this isn't even like they didn't do anything. They just imported a project from UE4 into UE5 and then let the new features just kind of pretty HD. It's like an HD remaster that they didn't put any effort into. They just turned on a couple settings.
Than it did in 2012. The reason why this is important is because all the content created for UE4 is still relevant and works for UE5. Whether that be tutorials or asset packs, there's already an existing and thriving Unreal ecosystem. For example, there are over 10,000 different asset packs you can buy right now on the Unreal Marketplace, and almost all of them can be converted to UE5. Not to mention a lot of these assets are free.
I wonder if
free content is
I wonder if they're going to state if they're compatible.
Also, almost all tutorials created for Unreal Engine 4 still apply to Unreal Engine 5.
This is actually nuts.
Which is great for me because that means all my past videos are still relevant.
Unfortunately for Left Mirror, not the case.
Create a donut in Unreal Engine, then all you have to do is watch this Unreal Engine 4 video, and it still works for Unreal Engine 5. And if you want to learn Unreal Engine 5, then luckily you are in the right place.
That's a headache that I don't know if I have the creative brain for. But if they do make a creative mode, knowing that this kind of stuff is out there and they simplify it with like predefined objects and everything, the possibilities like this, I think helps us try to contextualize why a lot of us are excited for it, but it also explains why it's so difficult. They're not just taking Unreal Engine 4, importing it into 5 and be like, presto changeo, it works. they do have to rebuild everything from the ground up. The assets and stuff that they have to do have to be made so they are applicable in the new one, which kind of brings the conversation full circle of like, what is the focus and what should be the focus for like Rocket League developers? Should they continue to build stuff in UE3 and release content, or should we just say, hey, we get it, UE5 is the plan, you guys focus on that, focus on making UE5 update, we'll be patient, we know nothing's going to come out, but at least you can dedicate your assets and your resources to it. I think it's really cool because it's not just the fact that they are transitioning to that, but they're doing it with the company that made it. Like Epic Games, Unreal Engine 5, same. And those are the types of people, like the possibilities of what this could be, like the guy said, like it is going to completely change the way that like games are made and developed. The fact that they can use assets made for movies, Rocket League gonna be pretty, man. I don't know how like hyper realistic it's gonna do because it is a kids car soccer game, but I mean, it's the little things. Like go look at the grass on the field and how they have to like cheat and manipulate that stuff, and how difficult it is to make sure that like maps, like I forget, it was a freestyler who found out that like with the way that the ball rolls or something like that is different on certain maps. That stuff should be a problem of the past, and I'm excited for it. The amount of times that they can output content, man, I'm excited. I'm really excited. So shout outs to Unreal Sensei, link to his videos in the description down below. I am super excited for what this could lead to. I am still curious on what the like requirements and like system wise, like what you need on a PC in order to do it, and what that also means for consoles, because obviously the limitations that come with it. But overall, that looks super cool. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this is something that we should all be excited about? Because I'm clearly biased towards it without a doubt. But the implementation of features and stuff, the thing that they didn't talk about is how much easier it is to implement things. Like he talks about all the assets and the predefined stuff that you can implement really easily, but all the projects that have already been pre-made, that isn't just like visual assets, it's also like features or implementation of network things or hosting lobby stuff, like a lot of things that have already been pre-made that they can just import in and go, yeah, 9 out of 10 times it's gonna work. So pretty crazy stuff across the board, but hopefully this helps provide a little bit of insight into what the heck Unreal Engine 5 can do for Rocket League. With that said, that is going to do it for this video. Appreciate you all taking the time to watch. As always, if you enjoy the content, thumbs up, subscribe, notifications, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.